Watch the ride.
Hey everybody, hope you're all doing alright out there. So episode 4, slightly changing the plan to what I mentioned in episode 3. The next job was going to be putting the back end of this back together and also tidying up some of the paint. Now I was mulling over the idea of, do I really want to tidy up the paint on this frame? As I mentioned, it was a test experiment, and you can see the previous videos to understand what I mean by that. And it is holding up okay, but there is a few spots underneath where there's been chips and things, and for that reason there's a little bit of rust there, and I was going to clean it up and respray it, but the thing is, this summer I want to go green laning. I might even put my old plastics on it, and really I want to hit a few green lanes. We've got nice weather, I just want to really enjoy them. So rather than being precious about it and fixing all the paint now, I've decided I'm just going to get this bike back together, get it through its MOT and get it ready to use, and then maybe next winter I'm going to strip this bike down entirely, send the frame off to be powder coated maybe, or sprayed, I don't know, so just get a proper job done on that. And I might even look at doing some mechanical work to the engine just to check a few things. I don't know for sure at the moment, but that's kind of like my plan I have in mind. But the reason this has been particularly pushed and this decision's been made for me this morning is that I walked in the garage and went to move the XJ6 and was like, oh, is it in gear? No. Why won't it move? Flat tyre. That bike also needs its MOT by the end of the month, which now means that I need to finish this bike, get the XJ6 in here, do the work to that and change the tyres. I was pretty sure I was changing the tyres anyway to get it through MOT, so it's not the end of the world, but it has meant that I now don't have a working bike other than Reno's bike, but I don't like riding that because it's third-party insurance only, so I'd rather have the DR back. Plus, I was today supposed to be doing a motorcycle review, but that's got postponed because of unforeseen circumstances, which is fine, and as it turns out, I wasn't going anyway because of the XJ6. What I don't know yet is why the XJ6 tyre's gone flat. Is it because of the plugs? If you don't know what I'm talking about there, I've done an experiment over the past several thousand miles and a few years using rope plugs in the same tyre to see how long they'd last, and it's very interesting. But I don't know if that's the reason why it's gone. So, as bonus content in this video, should we quickly go and find out why it's leaking? And then we'll put this together. Okay, so I've pumped the tyre up and put it on a stand. I can't hear it leaking. Hold on. What is that? Yeah, it's this. It looks like a nail. Now, if you followed along with this series, you'll know this is probably comically large. Wait a minute, what is it? Every time I get something in this tyre, it's never small. It's always some unusually mentally large screw or nut or... Why does this keep happening to me? Why are they... Is this like a staple? What the hell? Don't worry, I'm not planning on riding with this rope in it. Another one, because this is the third one. I'm doing it so I can actually push the bike around and it'll have a flat tyre. Come on. Go. There we go. That'll hold air in it so I can push it around. As you can see, these tyres are dead anyway, so it's no big deal, but there's already... Can I even find them? There's one there. There. There's the other one. Oh, it's right next to it. In fact, is that it? Is there anything else in these? Or nails or screws? Before we carry on, I need to give a big thank you to wemoto.com for supplying the parts for this build, also for giving me a discount code, which you can see on screen, which is valid until the 14th of March, and for that reason I'm going to accelerate this video from being made, where it normally sits on Patreon for quite a while. I'm going to get this live quite quickly so people can actually use that code. As far as I know, I don't get anything back from it. It'd be cool if I did, but I don't think I do. It's just so you get a bit of money off if you're doing some work to your bike. So if you need any, parts or lubricants or, just general supplies like O-rings and oil filters, contact wemoto.com at wemoto.com. They've also updated their website. It's a lot better. Check it out. That goes in there. That goes onto there. So then, yeah. Hope you can see that. I've basically filled the hole with grease. I've got the bolt in place. There. Yeah, there is just about room to get a torque wrench in here if the brake pedal's not there, so I'm going to have to detach the brake pedal. Annoyingly, but gotta do what we gotta do. Nope. Do I have a stubby 17? Basically, this is too long. I need it to be about that much shorter. Now, I'm thinking I'm going to have to do what I did with this 14mm, is go and buy a 17 and then trim it down to make it stubby, and then it will fit in there. I'm going to need it every time I take this apart anyway, so it's fine. It's just a bit annoying because I now have to, I'll have to take the Reno Machino, the CBR 500, and go and grab one of those right now. Okay, so the first bolt is done. I just did it on camera, but my microphone wasn't switched on, so I've got no sound. So here you go. Here is me doing it up. Yay. I ended up having to remove that chain guide, also getting this socket and shortening it. I definitely didn't do that by putting it in a drill and then spinning it and then using an angle grinder to take it down. It's definitely not the way I did that. But yeah, with the runner out, I was able to get that around there and I had space. See, this is a nightmare to even show you. Right, so do that up tight. And I'm going to get a split pin. I strongly suggest investing in a split pin kit because every time one breaks, every time you have to take one out, you have to put a new one in. Cool, the brake pedal's back on, the chain guide's back on. Make sure we've got both our washers. I've greased up the bolt and I've just got to get everything lined up. There we go. There we go. See, now this is where there's a bit of a question because the dog bones have 8 of these spacer washers. And I last time put them on the inside and that worked fine. But I've seen a couple of people that have got them either side, like that. And that kind of looks right. There's one way of knowing. It's that nut it has to miss. Would that miss it if it was on the... just one? Seems like it would, but... 2's got a bit more clearance, and it's wider. Okay. I'm putting them to the inside the way that I had them last time, because it gives me more clearance over this. Don't see any reason that isn't okay, even if it's not technically the way you're supposed to do it. Crease it up. Do the... oh god, stay it. So now I need to lower the swing arm. It's supposed to be more gentle than that. Until washers on. Dog bone up. There we go. Ooh. Okay, so now it's the moment of truth. The reason we're replacing all of those 7 bearings in there was because there was some play with the swing arm, which was an advisory on my MOTs for ages. It never got any worse. It was just a little lift up and down, which I'm hoping is gone now. But the thing is, none of the bearings themselves were that bad, apart from one of them, and I don't know if it was a combination of a bit of wear in all of them that added up, because it's 4 pivot points. So, the only thing I can do is put my chin on the exhaust, hold this swing arm, please don't move. Hold on. Oh my god, it's solid, look at that! That's amazing, that has fixed it. Perfect. So it was worth doing. Right, so now I want to put the back wheel back on and the chain guard and all those bits, but I've just realised that when I took the brake lever off, I obviously pressed it down to make sure it was okay, which is a silly thing to do with the the wheel off, because obviously what I've done is squished my brake pads together, so I need to separate them so I can get the disc back in. Every time I take my axles out, I always clean off the old grease and re-grease them. It's just a smart thing to do. It only takes a couple of minutes, and it does actually really make things a lot easier in the long run. Just make sure you don't put the axle down on the ground when it's covered in grease. I've got it propped up against something. Right, so I now should be able to lift, should be able to lift this up. Okay, so that is the wheel back on. I still need to put the chain guide on, and I need to put the disc guard on, but I also want to give this chain a clean. Now this chain is fine, but it has got a little bit of rust in a few places because I live on an island next to, well, in the sea, and they've been covering our roads with salt since it was like 2 degrees, so everything gets hammered. This isn't bad at all, actually. Most of this is just, well, any of the rust that's on it is stuck to the grease of the chain. So I'm basically going to clean it, and then put the chain guide back on. The way I'm going to clean it is not necessarily the way you want to clean yours. I'm not suggesting you do it this way, but this is the way I've done it for a long time, and it seems to work very well. If it's a chain that I'm just, keeping going, it's not brand new, spray it with WD-40, which is a great solvent, not a lubricant. And then I'm using a steel, it's supposed to be brass, but it's brass coloured steel, brush on the top and on the front, just to clean it up a bit. Don't be tempted to run the bike when you do this. Well, not that you're doing this. If you do what I'm doing here, don't grab this too tight and pull your fingers into the sprocket. You'll regret it. Which is why I'm going very gently backwards and forwards, just a little bit at a time. There we go, that's cleaned up quite nicely. Obviously this needs to actually be lubed, but I'll do that once any of this WD-40 is basically like dried off or dripped off, so I'll do that like tomorrow. One brake guard back on. Okay, so now we need to put the chain guide back on. Best thing to do is take the plastic insert out to get that around the chain first. Like that. And then you can put this over the top. For some strange reason, rather than having retained nuts on this, they're loose nuts, which means that you have to get your hands inside the wheel pretty much to get them on. Just get a spanner in to hold it, and then you can do it up. Why, Suzuki? Why do this? I don't know why they chose to do it like that, because on the back here there is a big piece of aluminium, and this screw here goes into a tab, which is threaded. Now I know why, it's because you can't get anything behind this one, but it's like, this is easier? I'm just moaning. You spend enough time working on a bike and you get to think of every single way it could have been better, and then you just get mad at the people who designed it, even though there's probably logical reasons as to why. I'm going to put the chain guard back on. Going on how difficult it was to get one of these out, I think it was this one, I've put a little bit of grease on it. I think it was just salt and dirt that had got in there. Because yeah, with grease it's going in fine. So I will do that for both. Ta-da! What's next? Oh! I haven't actually done up the rear wheel, and I haven't put the sliders on. So now that's all in, put it up against its stops, because I know the chain's adjusted right, because it was fine before. And now I need to torque that up. Torque specs. Rear wheel axle nut, 72.5 foot-pounds, which is about 90 something. As I'm not going to bother getting the Newton meter conversion, I've actually just done it in foot-pounds. I very rarely do that. I like to know what the Newton meterage is. But 72, it's about 90 something. 96, 97. Skateboard wheel sliders. So idiot check, that's been tightened, that has been tightened, those are on, that's okay. Brake caliper I didn't remove, anything other than what's back on, that's back on. I need to pop the tank back on, so let's do that. As you saw in the first episode, this little rubber bung fell off. I've glued this back on. It's just a guide and a vibration reduction that the tank slots onto. Like so. I edit these videos as I'm going, so I'm up to date with what I'm doing, and I already know the length of the video at this point. So I'm going to end this video with the bike back together, and then in the next episode, well, I'm not going to put the seat back on. In the next episode, I'm going to do the oil change, because there's a lot more to the oil change on this bike than most bikes, because of there's a hidden screen, and it's a dry sump, which means there's oil in the frame. And also, for the title of the video, it's going to make more sense if I can put like DRZ oil change, opposed to cush drive replacement wheel on and oil change, you know what I mean? But we will get it back to being together and running. One of the few things I'm envious of larger YouTube channels is having the ability to have someone who could hold a camera for you so you can get the shot of things like what I'm currently trying to do. Fuel lines on. Right, that's the tank back on, all plugged in, that's all done up. So it's just now a matter of oil change and putting the seat back on. Let's just make sure it starts and runs. It won't immediately. Oh no! Battery dead. Typical. I'm not massively surprised by that. It's been sat around for a while we've been doing this. So I'm going to put that battery on charge, and in the next episode we're going to drop the oil. I'll explain why a dry sump's different, what's different about the DRZ. It'll also be a good video for owners because they'll be able to do oil changes with a good guide. Yeah. If you've enjoyed this video, please do hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and if you would support me on Patreon, that would be amazing. You could also grab a sticker off Etsy, or grab a t-shirt, or any other ways that you can see down in the description. Bye-bye.